name is Selina Alko, and I am the illustrator of Stars of the Night, The Courageous Children of the Czech Kindertransport, written by Karen Stelson. And I'm so honored that you want to know a little bit more about my illustration process for this book. Let's begin with your first question. So usually after I've read the manuscript over, I start doing work in a sketchbook, and I get really loose in my drawings and my illustrations. I'm just trying to kind of free associate and come up with immediate images that speak to me based on the words and the ideas in the story. So this book is about Nicholas Winton, but it's who saved 669 Jewish children in World War II, but it's also from the perspective, it's mainly from the perspective of the children themselves. So I really wanted to try to capture the feeling of the children. And in playing around loosely in my sketchbook with collage and paint and mixed media, I can start to get a feeling for these things. So, for example, like I used the back of an envelope because I liked the way the clear part of the envelope was like almost like a window, and then I thought that might make a nice symbol for a train and the children who were taken away by train, and that's kind of how I came up with that idea, which again, of course, is on the cover. You can see the envelope, the children inside the envelope. So I collect a lot of collage materials, you know, sometimes just like tickets, and I paint on newspaper, which gives nice sort of texture to the collage. Like I'll collect old papers that may naturally age. In the case of Stars of the Night, I also Xeroxed copies of German recipes from a cookbook that a friend of my mother's took with her out of when she left Vienna during the war, you know, many, many years ago. And then I incorporated some of the recipes themselves into the collage. So I also Xeroxed parts of the spine of a notebook to emphasize Nicholas Winton's keeping of a scrapbook where the children's names appear at the end. But then I also have that same notebook, the spine, throughout the book, and at parts even used for train tracks. So it kind of works on a couple different levels. When I'm researching and writing my own story, obviously it takes a lot of time to do that initial research and really get the story right. But when I'm handed a manuscript or I'm offered one and I accept it to illustrate, it's a very, it kind of makes the process a little bit faster and easier because a lot of that work has been done for me. And I really appreciate that at times. And as long as the story resonates with me and I love it, like I did with this one, then I'm very happy to just dive right into illustrating it. So I was thinking about that because I have a few favorite images, but I'm choosing this one, which is the 5 children. And basically what I did was, since this story is written from the perspective of a collective of all the children, as an illustrator, I decided to hone in and focus on 5 children, and I gave them each a color. and so that the viewer, the reader, can follow these children throughout the story. So we kind of start off in the cafe, and there's two sisters in red and orange, two brothers in dark blue, light blue, and another little girl in green. And when I created the book dummy for this story, which are the practice sketches, the author said, I know exactly who these 5 children are. And according to her research, there were 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and a little girl named Renata. So Ernie, Max, Vera, and her older sister, I'm forgetting her name for a minute. I'll come back to it. Anyways, we follow these 5 children. And later in the story, when they learn that sadly their parents have mostly passed away, the next page moves on to something a little bit more hopeful, which is that they did survive, and that not only did they survive, they grew up and had children who had children. And the colors on this page represent the future, the generations that followed. So you've got blue, light blue, red, orange, and green, and that represents these particular 5 children and the future generations. So it is sort of a hopeful message in the end. And thankfully, Nicholas Winton was able to save 669 children. But by focusing in on these 5, whose names are, they're at the back. We have Eva and Vera. We have Renata and Joseph and Ernie. I think I said Max and Ernie, so Joseph and Ernie. And I put them at the back in the notebook. I hope that they get an emotional, they have an emotional reaction, and that they feel moved by the story, and that some of these symbols that I incorporated work on more of an unconscious level. So, for example, using colors for the children and being able to follow those children's journeys, and then seeing that there are the future generations. So that's sort of this feeling of hope, and also a feeling when you say goodbye to your mom and your dad, which happens when they go into the trains, and their parents are saying goodbye, but the parents say, think of us in the stars of the night and the sun of the day, that children feel that that's a parallel to just saying goodbye to their parents in general. Like when you go to school in the morning, or if you go to sleepaway camp and you have to say goodbye to your parents for a little while, or if you're going to your grandparents for the weekend or whatever, that it's okay, that you can say goodbye, and that you know that your parents will always be with you in spirit, emotionally, you know? So that's what I hope, one of the things that the kids get from my illustrations. I would say, keep a sketchbook. I always keep a sketchbook, and I love it because I don't feel like it's too precious, because nobody usually sees what's inside of my sketchbooks, and I can just play around with paint and cut out pictures and paste them down and collage and just get a sense of feeling, here are the trains again, and decide, for you as a young budding illustrator, what do you like to draw? What do you like to paint? Do you, you can play around, and you don't have to share it with anyone, but it's a good place to pour out your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts. So that will help you improve your skills if you keep a sketchbook. So thank you so much for inviting me to share my ideas, and for reading Stars of the Night and nominating this book.